And when do the ambient parts and the loops and things like that come in? When do you guys decide to add it, and how do you come up with those parts?
I think the more I guess the we made a conscious decision to focus more on that while writing this record. So it kind of happened organically with writing the songs. A lot of it is just like, oh, again, this riff maybe sounds like too empty, or there's not enough kind of going on here. So what if we added a drone layer underneath it? Or yeah, just stuff like that. I think we're trying to experiment a lot more with the drone stuff. Our live sets, there's a lot more kind of freestyle drone loops going on in between songs where we roughly know what we're doing, but it's really kind of off the cuff, and then we just go into the next song. So everything kind of flows a lot better. Dennis has always been really into drone. He's a lot more into it than I am, but it's always been, I think even at the beginning of They Grieve, it was like, this is something I really want to experiment with. I want to be better at kind of creating these soundscapey kind of loops and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's hard to say when we decide, oh, this is where it's going to be, but I think it's just sometimes we feel, oh, this part needs something a little more. And I think a lot of it is also based off like, well, how can we realistically do this in a live setting too? And it's easier to do that with a loop that has some movement, but it's more of like a insinuated melody than it is an actual melody. It's easier to kind of play along to.
Would you say that the live version or your ability to play these songs live affect the way that you write songs in terms of not wanting to do anything that you wouldn't be able to pull off live?
I think initially that definitely was the case. When we first started the band, we were like, that was something we really prided ourselves on. It's like everything we do, like we can do live. I think it was almost kind of like silly how much we were priding ourselves on that. But I think we're a little more open to it being, other layers that are just wouldn't be able to be pulled off. But it is also still important to us to have like to be able to do as much of it as we can live, and like without like backing tracks and stuff either. We're not trying to just play to like a computer track or something. It really is trying to be like as organic as possible.
You used the word experiment a few times. How clear of an idea do you have of where you want a song to go when you start? And how different is the finished version from what you guys initially thought you were creating?
We really, I mean, I have no idea a lot of the time. A lot of the time I have a riff and we'll sit on a riff for months before we kind of figure out even one more part that we think kind of fits. Yeah, I don't have it's not like writing for Alaskan where it's like I have an idea of where I want this to go. I have an idea what parts I want to include in a song or what type of parts. Yeah, this is way more way more experimenting, way more organic, just let's see what happens and then kind of fine tune it from there. Like we mentioned in a few interviews now that, writing this record, we had written most of these songs pretty early on or some version of them. And then a lot of them got picked apart and rewritten, or at least like structurally like shuffled around. And we also rewrote huge chunks of songs that we were even playing live at the time that we were just like that. There's something just not quite right about it. So yeah, I guess like even when we're playing them live, we're not really sure where those songs are going to go.
Is there is there a lot of improvisation either in the studio or live?
Well, live we do some improv in between songs. There's not a lot of improv as far as like, I mean, all the songs that we're playing now are stuff that's recorded, so we try to stay it pretty like true to the recording. In the studio, I think we had kind of figured out mostly what we wanted to do. I think there was a few like synth layers that Dennis didn't quite have figured out that we kind of just did off the cuff in the studio and then really liked the result of.
So, To Which I Bore Witness is the name of the first They Grieve album, and it will be coming out through Silent Pendulum Records on February 24th of this year. When did you actually start working on these songs?
I think there's been some version of one of the songs on the album probably as early as 2018. Yeah, it was, I mean, there was a lot of roadblocks in writing the album. And like I said, we had completely rewritten most of it throughout the years as well. I mean, and then recording started in, I think, almost 3 years ago at this point. So it's just been a very long process for us. But yeah, I think I would say we started writing those songs probably as early as 2018.
When were you happy with the version of the songs? When did you feel like you were ready to put them out into the world?
I think we started doing some pre-production recordings in probably late 2019 or early 2020. I think at that point we were pretty satisfied with, yeah, we were pretty satisfied with the structure of the songs and stuff at that point. And then we were doing pre-production just to make sure there weren't any layers or little things that we thought might benefit from adding. But structurally and like the main like bones of the songs were completed by then for sure.
And you worked with Topon from Fuck the Facts for this recording, right?
Yeah. I've known Topon for a really long time. He recorded most of Alaskan stuff, so it was a pretty easy decision to make at that point when we were ready to record.
Recorded the EP yourself, right? You guys recorded it in your own studio?
Yeah. It was a failed experiment. We kind of did like a lot of like long overnight recording sessions because we were recording in a jam space where there was 20 or 30 other bands jamming in other rooms. So we had to kind of wait them out till it was like super late at night and then start recording. There are moments of that EP that I really enjoy, but I think we could have done better as far as this production goes. But I mean, some people really, really like it. Some people think that kind of adds to it. But I guess just personally, I feel like I could have done a little better. But yeah, we did record it. We self-recorded it. I think the goal was just to get something out and then to see where we go with the next batch of songs. We wanted to step up the production quality for sure. And then, we had some money that we could put into it. And I know Topon, and I know he does really good work and he's really easy to work with. So it was time to kind of like try a studio for this stuff. And I think the result is kind of speaks for itself.
So I've spoken to a few people who've worked with Topon. What do you like about working with Topon? What would you say he brings to your sound?
Topon is he's very patient. He's also very easy to work with. It's a very calm working environment. You don't feel, stressed or like worried about time crunch or anything like that. He's also kind of willing to kind of just go with the flow. Let's try anything and everything. Nothing's off the table. I think there's a couple of moments on this record where he was getting really excited about trying things. And he was like, you know what, I'm going to go into the room with the guitar cab and I'm just going to swing the mic while we're recording this part and see how that turns out and stuff. So I think it's just seeing like someone who I grew up idolizing as a local musician and then seeing him kind of get excited about what we're doing. I think that's part of it for sure.
Did you do all the recording with Topon or did you record some parts elsewhere?
We did record some piano. A friend of mine has a studio in his house. His name's Alex. I think he calls his studio Uppercut Studio because, well, we needed a piano that was relatively in tune. So he was gracious enough to kind of let us in his home for a day, and we recorded some piano tracks.
And where did you send this to get mastered?
We went with Dave Williams at 8 Floors Above. He's a local guy. He's done plenty of local punk and metal records. And yeah, I mean, I think he did some mastering for Alaskan back in the day as well. So I was kind of just going through my old address book and just kind of using people I know. Yeah, but Dave does great work and he's super quick and not super expensive. So that kind of helped.